Hey friends, what's up? Dethroned Deity here. We're here today to talk about some guitar setup basics, not get too far into it, but we're still going to give you enough information in order to be able to set up your own guitar, make it play a little bit better, and do things that you all want to do, which is play music and have your guitar be comfortable for you. I've been asked to do this video for quite a while, and I haven't been putting it off, but I just haven't had like a guitar that needed a setup. I still don't, but I decided, you know what, I can at least show you guys what the heck to do. First, we're going to talk about truss rods a little bit. Truss rods are interesting. So if you don't know what a truss rod is or what it does, most guitars have covers up here at the top of the headstock. That's your truss rod cover. And some guitars have a little like screw looking thing below the fretboard between the pickup. Kiesels don't do that, but I do know that like some Schecters, I think the SLSs do. They work. It's just a different idea to do the same thing. So what the truss rod does is there's a little like screw basically through bolted all the way through the guitar neck. And what it does is it keeps the guitar neck straight. So what happens when you tune your strings up to pitch, you know, you're tightening these strings, and that causes a reaction in the wood. The wood wants to pull itself this way, wants to pull itself up. But that's like not preferable because you want your neck straight-ish. So what the truss rod does is when you tighten it, it counteracts the strings pulling this way, and it pulls the neck back straight. So that's the whole idea of the truss rod. When you're loosening it, you would normally be setting up the guitar for maybe you're going from E standard to D standard or C standard. Kiesels in general, you don't have to touch. They just come ready to go. But a lot of the other manufacturers that aren't custom builds, it should be something that's looked at or set up from whatever retailer you buy. Now, Sweetwater, they can do it. They can do complete setups on the guitar where you get it. Don't have to worry about anything. Your local guitar shop should be able to do this as well. And I don't necessarily have a good way of showing you guys this, but basically when you're looking down the neck, right, you want to see slight up bow. That's what it's called, up bow, at the top of the fretboard by the nut up here. And that's basically how you go about adjusting your truss rod. That should be the first thing you adjust once you get your strings up to the pitch that you want. So like this guitar is at E standard or B standard because it's a 7-string. So I tuned it all up, and then you adjust the truss rod. That's the first thing you do. And then the next thing you do is the action adjustment. So for the action adjustment, what you want to do is if on a hip shot bridge like this, you have little adjustment screws right by where the strings are. I don't know how well it's showing up. That might show a little better. But there's little screws here that are done by like Allen keys or hex keys. And that's how you adjust the action. Now, the hard part is you can't just like adjust one and then have the other ones be lower because fretboards are radiused, right? So the middle is slightly taller than the sides. So like Kiesels, for instance, come already ready to go. The screws are in the right slots and they come radiused. And if you ever want to make adjustments, you adjust all of them similarly. That way you get the even feel. But sometimes, like with, I don't have another guitar with a hip shot other than my multi-scales, but sometimes I've had this happen with like Schecters and Ibanez that have similar bridges to this. The screws are not in the right slots because they go off of how long they are. So you have to like take a digital micrometer or a digital caliper, and you have to measure out how long the screws are, and the shorter screws go on the outside, the longer screws go towards the middle of the guitar where it has to have the higher action. Once you cleared that the screws are in the right spot or they're just good to go, what you want to do is have your guitar in playing position, because if it's not in playing position, it's not going to work out as well. Because if you have it down like this, right? That the little bit of weight that the string is feeling of itself is pushing it down towards the frets, which can give you not what you want. So you keep your guitar vertical and you lower it to where you think is going to be good, and then you check. You'll strum with similar level that you normally would, and you want to do this acoustically because you want to be able to hear the fret buzz if it happens. And you're going to go up the fretboard the entire way and ensure that you don't get any fret buzz at any fret, or that none of them are dead. If they are, then you need to raise the action in order to compensate, and that you would repeat that process throughout the entire string range. So then you'd go to the next string and 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 the next string. So that's how you would do it on a hip shot bridge. But what if your guitar looks like this? Never fear, we can figure it out. So this is what's called a either Tune-o-matic or like Gibraltar 3, some kind of bridge like that. It's got this style, but it doesn't have the stop tail piece on this side, which I can show you that later, but this is a string through design. So the action adjustment here is not as nice. It's easier in the fact there's only a total of 4 screws you need to access, but it's not as accurate per string. So you get better feel out of a hip shot bridge or one similar where they're monorail adjustments. Let me show you guys this real quick. It's going to be kind of hard to do, but I'll try it anyway. So with this guitar, oh man, you can't see that at all, but there's that screw hole, this flathead. That's your adjustment. That's how you get this thing to raise or lower. And usually on this side, right in here, right under where my finger is, there's a little Allen screw, which is your set screw. So you find where it's good, and then you cinch it down. That way it doesn't move. And that's how you do it on this bridge. Now, if you have a guitar like this, it's quite literally the same thing. The bridge works the same way. We have the flatheads and then the set screw on this side. Only difference is when you're changing the string, you feed it through here. You don't feed it through the back of the body. So after you've got your action adjusted, you've got your truss rod done, next up is intonation. Now, intonation sounds like a scary thing, but trust me, it's not. It's one of the easier things to do with a guitar. It takes a while. It's a little tedious, but it's very easy. And it's one of the most important things that you can do in order to get your guitar sounding the way it needs to. For instance, if you're like trying to play a solo and it's just not sounding particularly right, and you know that your guitar is in tune to whatever the song is, it could be your intonation that's throwing it off. Because what intonation does is it makes sure that across the fretboard you are getting the same note that is expected. If your intonation's off, you might be slightly sharp at like the 17th fret and you would never know. So it's very important, and I'll show you how to adjust it a little bit. Not going to go through the process because my guitars are all intonated already. Show you how to do it. This will be on a hip shot at first, and then we'll do the Gibraltar bridges, and then Floyd Roses are a completely different story. I'd have to do a whole video just on how to set up a Floyd because they're a pain in the ass to initially get set up, but once they are set up, they are good. I digress. Intonation adjustment, okay? The length right here, the adjustments are right there on these hip shots. That's why we like hip shots a lot, because you get all the adjustment and they're equal for each string. The way you want to do this, you want to have, again, your guitar vertical. Don't do this horizontal. Have it in playing position. You're going to hit your open note. And it's best to not use a snark for this. Have your guitar plugged in to a tuner, to a direct tuner in any way, whether that be neural or a pedal tuner, doesn't matter. Those are going to be more accurate than a snark would be, the little clip-on tuners. So don't do that. So you're going to hit your open, and for me, this is in B. So I would tweak this and get this like perfectly in B. And then while that's still going, you hit the 12th fret because that's your octave. And that should also be a perfect B, or very, very close. If it is not, your intonation is out and your intonation needs an adjustment. I forget which way these need to go, but essentially you would move it one way and then you would check the process again. You'd hit it open and then hit it at the 12 and check and see what happened. That's how you can adjust this intonation. And once you get it perfect, it's going to be perfect. And then you move down to the next string. So your open E, 12 E, make your screw hole adjustment here by tightening or loosening. That's going to move this saddle either back this way or forward this way. And then you're going to go through that. And once you get it intonated, you can check out that solo or whatever you're working on, and it's going to sound a lot better. You know, good intonation is just super important. So that's on the hip shot. But wait, there's more. If you have a guitar like this, the intonation adjustments on this kind of suck. For some reason, the screws are on this side, and then you would tighten and loosen from there, and you only have this much adjustment. So sometimes these are really hard to get intonated right. This is how you do it. There's screw holes up here. And then that would be the same way for the string through, because it's the same kind of bridge. And it's the same process. You hit your open E, for instance, and then your 12 E, and you would go through about it that way. So this has been my kind of basic guitar setup video. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it helped out. Hope it answered some of your questions. If you have more, please let us know in the comments. I'd love to get to know what you guys want to know, and then maybe that'll give us videos for like a specific, like, hey, you need to do intonation. That's, what the hell is that? Or you know, let's do pickup swaps or something like that. Let me know what you guys want to see, because we can definitely work with that. So with that, I'm out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good day.